I'm at 2503 Hansford Pl in Cincinnati, Ohio, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. I'm looking for any structural issues, bellies or low spots, root intrusion, anything that may be of concern to the buyer. Our access point here is a kind of an offset stack here. You can see it's coming down through the ceiling, and then PVC looks like it's going into cast iron as it goes through the floor based off the age of the house. I'm just kind of showing you around so you kind of know where the access is. There's cast iron here. I expect based off the age of the home that it could be clay underneath the floor, but it could be cast iron underneath the floor also. So far, it's clay, a little bit of toilet paper, cast iron. A little bit of toilet paper sitting there, not a concern, actually obviously pretty normal for a sewer line. And so far this cast iron looks really good. It could have been clean, or what they do is they'll run like a head through here to kind of clear out all the excess rust, because this actually looks like the line is nice open, and it does have a lot of the original shape. It's a good thing to see how you have the cast iron, because a lot of times I like to make sure that people know that cast iron, due to the nature of the material, obviously does rust, and so we have no real way of dating or gauging how much life is left in the line, how thin or thick the pipe walls are. We're looking for any obvious holes or breaks, stuff like that. But also with cast iron, it's a lot more susceptible to, they call it soft clogs, which is like excess toilet paper. Wet wipes are a big problem because they don't break down like toilet paper does. So when they get wet, normally when toilet paper gets wet, it disintegrates, and that's what you want. It's what it's designed to do. Whereas wet wipes, or you don't want to flush paper towels and anything that's not supposed to be feminine products, anything that could catch and is not going to break down in the water, can cause backups. And so a lot of times they're fairly easy to clear, but it still can cause a backup, and you don't want, and then cause it to come back out of the floor drains and stuff like that. But so far this cast iron is pretty smooth. Like I said, they can go through and kind of deburr, for lack of a better term. They kind of run a snake through here in the line, and then to kind of scrape off all the rust on the excess, or any excess rust that's on the line walls. And so I will try to make sure that the line is nice and clear, the camera is nice and clear as we push out, and then we can probably see a lot better on the way back. In any instance where, like, we had a little bit of smudges on the front of the camera, obviously it's pretty common to have that in a sewer line, but it's a lot less likely as you're pulling back and pushing forward. Obviously you're pushing forward, you're kind of plowing stuff up in front of the camera. But so far the line looks really good. It's nice, functional, and wide open. You can see like the black line on the side where the cast iron is rusted, and the flow line is not very high at all. Again, this camera lens, something to make note of, is only about a ½ inch off the bottom of the pipe, so this is not very much water. And sometimes like this, I'm probably pushing a piece of toilet paper and it's on the front of the lens. And so a lot of times, for those reasons, when we pull back, you can see a lot better. So the surprising thing is here is that it is cast iron. Looks like, you know, I mean, I'm out 100 feet and it is cast iron. It looks like all the way to the main. It's not really a good or a bad thing, but like we talked about earlier, cast iron is a little bit harder to gauge lifespan, just due to the fact that we know it's going to rust. It's just a matter of, you know, how much time is left is always hard to say. So it looked like there was already a tie-in, so I'm not sure. The fact that I am out this far, I think we would have to be somewhat close to the main, but this line does seem like it snakes through the house an awful lot to be this far out, and not have either changed materials or hit the main based off of where the house is. And so we may have to try to find another access point that may be closer to the road, closer to where it exits, unless we have just reached that point. And I think we have. I think we've made it all the way up to the main. There we go. So we did. And so it's a little bit strange for a house of this age to have cast iron all the way out. It means it may have been installed, I believe this house is from the 30s, and so it would have been the very beginning of cast iron usage, and usually they didn't put it all the way out to the main. A lot of times they would use clay. Once the line exited the house, they would convert over to vitrified clay and use that from the house out to the main. But obviously in this case they ran cast iron all the way out to the main. That last little section there is PVC, and where it ties into the main, so they probably had an instance where the tap on the main was damaged or something like that, and so MSD made a repair right there at the main. But overall, as we looked at the line, it was in really good shape, especially for its age. And so so the line, I would say, has definitely been deburred, or basically it gets cleaned of all the, can't think of the actual term right now, but they have cleaned it and made sure that the line, you know, has held most of its original shape by doing that, keeping it open, flowing, and not having a whole lot of channeling and stuff that goes on towards the center of cast iron. A lot of times you'll have buildup of debris, calcification, mineral deposits, and mixed with the rust, and because it's like a rougher material, it tends to build up and kind of channel down the center. You don't see a whole lot of that. So it's been maintained, which is a good thing. I didn't see any major damage to the pipe either, so as we pull back though, we'll take another look and see if we see anything. We should be able to see, like I mentioned, a little bit better. But right now I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to check to see whether this goes out the front and out to the main in the street, or whether it goes out the rear. I believe it goes out the front, but we don't have any sewer maps to reference on this one. So again, I'm going to pause the video. We're going to locate where this is. I may not be able to. It's like sometimes the monitor likes to kind of lock up and not respond for some reason. So we don't really need to Alright, so we are all the way at the main. I did check, it does go out the front. I'm trying to turn the transmitter off, but it is not wanting to do that. So, we'll have to see how it works out. Hopefully we'll be able to get that to, because the transmitter there does cause some interference. You can see the lines across the video there, and so try to get that to there we go. Oh, turned it off, turned it back on. So yeah, sometimes there we go. But yeah, that transmitter does interfere with the video a little bit, so we'll just keep it off. But as we come back, we should be able to look at this a little bit better. And it seemed like the line looked good overall. Everything was in pretty good shape. And didn't see major issues. As we pull back though, hopefully we didn't miss anything, but we'll take another look. There we go. And you can tell kind of how cast iron kind of flattens, and like I mentioned earlier, you see a little chunks of toilet paper and stuff, and that's where, you know, that it does break down. Toilet paper does break down, and that's what you want. So you'll see if it does kind of sit, and sometimes if it flush, it might take a little bit more flushes to get the toilet paper and stuff, you know, down the line as far as it needs to go. But as long as it breaks down, then it'll also disintegrate and not cause any backups. So another thing is low flow toilets. These lines were obviously designed before those were out, and so sometimes with the low flow toilets, if you've got females, they do tend to have a little more, use a little more toilet paper when they pee, and so we're going to stop here and just take a look. There was a little belly from about 90 feet to 84 here. It's not much water. You can see it flashing. And like I mentioned, this camera lens is only a ½ an inch off the bottom of the pipe. But we just want to make sure, as we're looking at it, that, you know, make sure there's no structural problems in that area. You can see even if it flashes, sometimes it'll, you can see far enough ahead where there was no, you could tell there was no damage to the pipe in that area. So, what I was mentioning with those low flow toilets is that you want to make sure that you're using full flushes on those. Sometimes they'll have a 1 and a 2 flush, or when you hit the flush on the lever, you almost have to hold the lever down for a minute to make sure you get a full flush. Because they used to have, a gallon or more per flush. Now it's less, and so the water doesn't carry the debris in toilet paper as far as you would like. So you can obviously see the debris as we pull back. That it hasn't traveled as far out as if it was a smoother material. A lot of times you don't see much debris at all. And so structurally, everything looks good, but I just want to keep stressing the fact that they are more susceptible to soft clogs. So be mindful of what goes down the sewer line. As long as you use them the way they're designed, should function normally and well. So I'm going to take a look at that connection back there. But yeah, there's no root intrusion. That's another big thing you see with houses of this age. No root intrusion at all, so that's good. Too, when you have that toilet paper and stuff, a lot of times that'll get flushed out when you take showers or do laundry. So it helps when you actually use it under heavy load to get a lot of water flowing through there and flush the line out. So a lot of times the good thing is, like I said, showers and loads of laundry. One thing that was pretty good there is that I didn't see a bunch of layers of grease on the cast iron, and that's something that we see a lot of just due to the fact that with kitchen lines, not anything that people are just dumping grease straight down, but that just natural normal use can leave a little bit of a white layer on the cast iron because of just the regular usage with food and stuff going down the kitchen sink. So the line looked really good. And there was only one low spot between like 90 and 94 feet, which is not a concern. The major thing here, as I kept talking about, would be to just make sure that the line is being used as designed. Toilet paper and natural materials only if you're going to use wet wipes, or anything else. Make sure you just throw it in the trash along with the feminine products and stuff, so that they don't cause any soft clogs in the future. So again, structurally, the line looked great. Just the few notes about normal usage. So that'll end the inspection at 2503 Hansford Place in Cincinnati, Ohio.